Alright, welcome. I have now reached 5,000 rounds with the 320. I'm going to give you my thoughts on it while I clean it. I can tell you that this is the first time in a very long time that I've actually cleaned the gun. I'd originally intended on cleaning it on a more rational schedule, but I don't know if you'll be able to see that, probably not. But I've just basically been far too lazy to actually clean it, which is, I guess, it, makes the test a little more interesting for some people. I don't really care. I don't think that not cleaning a gun is a particularly interesting thing, but in this case, I don't really carry this gun, so I didn't really care about cleaning it, so I just stopped doing so. I'm going to clean it today. We're at the 5,000 round mark. I've technically hit 5,056 rounds. The gun seems to be running fine. There has been one ongoing malfunction that the gun has had since, I believe, one of the prior videos, and that is that it has some failures to extract. That has always been with Blazer brass ammunition. Let me see if you can see that. It's basically this stuff here. You can't really see it. There you go. It was very cheap ammunition. I got it before the election at $9.90 something cents per 50, which was a great deal at the time. But you'll notice there is corrosion along the rim, and what it actually did was, or what it seems to be doing is, very consistently it will fail to extract one of these rounds. Like here, you can't really see it, but there's corrosion exactly where the extractor claw happened to land inside the rim. It pulled away a tiny chunk of the rim, so it may be weak brass, but it also may be the corrosion is holding the extractor claw up and preventing it from getting a good purchase on it when it extracts it. That's just my theory. I have no real idea. I do know that I have fired many other types of ammunition through the gun and have never had the problem show up on any other kind of ammunition, including Monarch, steel-cased ammunition, Fiocchi, Blazer, aluminum, lots of 147 grain Browning ammunition, gold dots, you name it, pretty much. It has functioned fine with it. So I really, it has happened with both magazines, and I've really just decided to ignore the issue because it only seems to happen with that ammunition, and I am now actually completely out of that. So I'm not going to buy any more of that, and I'm just going to keep listening to see if, or keep paying attention to see if it happens again. Also, you'll see that I've got a Surefire XC1 on here. I don't think I had that on here last time. It has also been a mixed bag. I like it because it fits into my, it's very small and lightweight, doesn't really add anything negative to the gun, and allows you to, to have a weapons light on there, which is pretty important to me. But it has not been very reliable. And let me tell you, I'll show you what one of the problems is. Go ahead and hit this with some of this Slip 2000. I don't really like this stuff because it's water-based, but I bought it mainly so I could clean my AK-74 when I'm shooting corrosive ammunition, and I figure it'll be fine for a gun like this that I'm not really paying much attention to anyway. It does work well. I just always get concerned that it might get in some crevice that I'm not able to get to, and keep me from being able to clean it properly. But anyway, so the problem with the Surefire is this. The Surefire has, you can see the light. Sometimes it has this little battery compartment here. And watch this. I'll turn the light on. I'll go ahead and turn the cross switch on. I like the little cross switch. I know people have said they don't like it, but I want to show you what the issue is here. Sometimes the battery compartment will work itself loose, and if actually, if it tightens itself down, you see that it's on? If you tighten it, the light will go out. If you loosen it up, it'll go back on. So I guess, you know, you sort of have to find a sweet spot, but you don't want to loosen it too much because you don't want there to be any concerns about water getting in there. Anyway, so basically what you have is a unreliable weapons light. And given the ridiculous price of Surefire products, that's unacceptable. My intention is to send it back at some point. One time I just opened the gun and it just wasn't working. And I figured out that if I basically hit the sweet spot there in terms of the compartment, that I could get it to work. But that's, again, that's, to me, that's unacceptable. Maybe somebody else doesn't think that's a big deal, but no, that's, yeah, the thing needs to work. I mean, that's the whole point of paying $200 for a Surefire light, is you can trust it. Now, let me say, in the past, I've had very good luck. I've had Surefire lights like X200s that I've had for 5-10 years, and when it failed, you know, they sent me a brand new unit, and so they do good work. But it's just, given the cost, it irritated me. Hopefully, I'll send it back soon, and they'll fix it. Well, I can say it doesn't seem to be particularly filthy in here. There's nothing too exotic. Again, I haven't been purposely running it dirty. You can see here, I mean, it's going to be kind of nasty looking because I've already lubricated it, but you can't really see it good. Sorry about the lighting. But anyway, suffice it to say, it doesn't look too bad. It's not disgusting. You can see here, it's just dirty. I mean, you've seen a dirty gun before. Well, this is a dirty gun. It hasn't given me any problems with any other gun. Now, I will tell you that I personally, the gun is cool, but it's not blowing me away with. Today, there are just so many, what I like to call Glock 2.0 guns like this out here. These striker-fired plastic guns that frankly ought to be a lot cheaper than they are. There's really no excuse for the prices they're charging for these things. I read in Forbes years ago that Glock, I believe, after delivery and everything, has about $70 in these guns. And you know, when Glock was the only people on the market, even you know, I guess they could charge $500 for these things. But you know, these days there are so many good choices for guns. I mean, I'm seeing H&K VP9s for $499, and I'm assuming they're still making money. And I mean, they're building a factory over here. So my guess is these guns ought to cost about $300. I mean, I'm just pulling that out of my ass, but I really would hope that the current current decline in gun prices and gun sales and things like that will result in a resetting of gun prices. Now, yeah, it's probably Fantasyland stuff. Probably never happened. Back in dream. I did see that, you know, the rumor is that SIG charged $320 for, or $200 or $206 or something like that to the military. Now, I don't know, you know, where these rumors come from, and people just repeat this stuff on the internet, but just for the sake of argument, if that's true, that would sort of be in line with what I read in that article, and that SIG basically just bucked the trend. I had a friend of mine, I was at a gun shop, and there were people behind the counter complaining that SIG had underbid everyone in that contract, and that was the only reason they won. And I basically said, whoa, wait a minute, what a shock. Are you telling me that there's a gun company that would come in and just underbid all their opponents and basically put all their opponents out of business? And it's too bad something like that happened to Glock. I mean, that's just outrageous. You know, so there's a lot of sour grapes out here. I can say, and my personal belief is, I don't see anything particularly special about the 320, but I can certainly see why you would consider it to replace the Beretta. The gun is much more modular. It's much more it's updatable. I mean, you can easily change the frames. I mean, you may have seen out there, there's a frame out there that's supposed to have an integrated laser and things like that. And I assume there are going to be other updates like that. I was in a class with Ken Hackathorn probably a year or two ago, and he basically said then that he thought the military would pick the 320. He didn't even seem to be a particularly big fan of the 320, but he was saying that they really were interested in the modularity, and they were, they really had they were really excited about that. And that's understandable. I mean, one of the problems with the Beretta has been that we've basically had to, it took forever for them to even get a version that had the rail. And of course, the front sights are not replaceable. I mean, there's all sorts of limitations to the Beretta that are just difficult to update. Now, it's no sin. I mean, the gun was never intended to have replaceable front sights when the bid was put in. And that if you're not going to replace the front sights, fixing the front sight is a great way to go, so you don't have reliability issues and durability issues and things like that. And I to this day still think the Beretta is a better shooter's handgun than this thing. Yeah, that's probably just a function of the excellent trigger on it, the weight, and the long sight radius. But either way, whatever it is, it just makes it a lot easier gun to shoot. I will say one thing I really like about the SIG, and this may be counterintuitive, is the slide levers are extremely difficult. Wait a minute, that's an exaggeration. The slide levers are difficult to actuate. Essentially, it takes a fair amount of downward pressure to get the slide levers to release the slide. Now, if you're one of these overhand people or slingshotters or whatever they call those folks, it doesn't make any difference to you. I'm not one of those people, never have been. And so it makes it a little more difficult. Now, counterintuitively, I think that's a great thing because the gun, I have yet to hold the slide lever down and keep and have it failure to lock back on the last round. That is something I was always prone to do on plastic H&Ks, Glocks, and other guns of that nature, of that sort. Always had an issue with that. And you can train around it. And when I was shooting a VP9, I was able to get where I was holding the gun in such a way that it didn't happen. But it still was pretty irritating to have to basically, work around issues like that. And the SIG, what they seem to have done is to put a fairly small slide release lever on here and made it a little bit difficult to operate. Some people may not like that, but I do. The speed of the gun is very good. I find my splits are very good with the gun. I find that when I'm doing transition drills and things like that during El Presidente and things like that, I find the gun is real good. I do still have a tendency to shoot a little bit to the left with it. I don't have that with my Berettas or my P2000 or anything like that, but it's not the gun. It's me. It's basically something to do with the way I grip the gun. Obviously, if I put a little more trigger finger on the gun, that corrects the issue. But it's just something that, because I go between guns, I do have that issue pop up here and there. The finish is not that great. I have, let's see if you can see this. Let's see, well, it's hard to see on here, but, well, it's very difficult. I'll have to take some still pictures. The finish comes off fairly readily from the holster I have, and it's a Kydex holster, but it was a holster I had to get so that I could run it with the Surefire light. And it's just not, the finish seems to come off fairly easily. Not really that important. I mean, I think everything's stainless steel and nitrided and everything else, so it probably doesn't make a hill of beans difference, but it's ugly. Again, nothing important in a military service weapon, but, a little bit of pride of ownership's never a bad thing. That's really it for now. The gun is running good, other than the hiccups with the Blazer brass. I think you could do a lot worse. I think the gun is going to end up being, and I know it's now being, it looks like it's going to be available to all the different military branches. It looks like they're all adopting it now, so I'd expect to see the other guns like the Beretta and the